Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the 1982 Wizard of Oz. So, this is a Japanese anime movie from Toho, and then I guess also Topcraft Limited Company and Wiz Corporation. I mean, yeah, obviously, most notably Toho, who are responsible for all kinds of, big Japanese franchises like the Godzilla franchise and also, hold on, well, they did the Doraemon. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I just know it's a very popular anime. They did the film series, apparently. So, anyway, basically, this is, well, it's Wizard of Oz. Not really much else to say. I mean, is it anywhere near as good as the 1939 movie? No. I mean, it wasn't terrible or anything. It wasn't bad. But yeah, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about this one. It was kind of just, well, I guess on the positive, it is kind of more faithful to the original book, apparently. I wouldn't know. I've never read the original book, but let's see. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not entirely the same as the movie, but, it does seem to be a fairly straight retelling of the original book. And, yeah, there's not much to say about the story that you're not already going to know from, all the other, well, anything Wizard of Oz related. Because, most of the time when people talk about Wizard of Oz, it's like a direct reference to the 39 movie. Because, yeah, that movie's like such a huge, pop culture phenomenon. Like, to this day, it's still one of the biggest things ever made. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think there's really much need to recap the story, but yeah. Anyway, this was pretty straightforward, rather safe, and almost flavorless. Almost. The animation was pretty bland. I mean, it wasn't bad by any means, but it was, well, honestly, this looked less like a theatrical movie and more like a Saturday morning cartoon. Let's see. Yeah. Animation was pretty meh. The characters, for the most part, are who you know from the story. I guess, well, I'm trying to think what stood out in terms of, like, this production in general. Let's see. I mean, I guess most notably, they do kind of empathize, or emphasize that the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion, they don't really need the things that they're looking for from the wizard. Because, I mean, the Scarecrow talks about having a brain and, shows several occasions of him, like, coming up with these little plans and, basically using his head and, being a thinker. And then, the Tin Man, he has a few moments of being, like, very sensitive. Like, he starts breaking down in tears when he steps on a bug. And then the lion, they show that, he's not the, he's a bit of a far cry from the one from the 39 movie, They show that despite what he says, he does show some clear moments of bravery, and, he's definitely not cowering the whole time. He's just kind of, scared at times. There's a difference. Let's see. I mean, The Witch was entertaining. I mean, again, not as good as the 39 one, obviously, but, she's still effective enough. I mean, there's not much to say about Dorothy or Toto that we don't already know from all the other adaptations. Let's see. The Wizard, I do remember reading somewhere that, like, in the original book, he does take on a bunch of different forms for, like, each of the characters. Because he does first appear as the floating head, as you know from the 39 movie, in front of Dorothy, and then, like, in front of the Scarecrow, he becomes, like, this beautiful woman, and then Tin Man, he becomes, like, a monster rhinoceros, and then, yeah, he's like a giant flame in front of the lion. He takes on all these different forms for each of the characters. Yeah, each of them sees him individually, and I will admit it does kind of drag the movie out a little bit. I kind of feel like they could have learned everything just from, Dorothy's first meeting. Like, just have her meet him and have him tell her to get the witch's broom, and then, she tells the others what they have to do, etc. But I guess, they wanted to take advantage of the different forms thing. Another thing is, there's some sometimes bland and sometimes rather repetitive, and sometimes even somewhat amusing in an awkward way writing. Dorothy has, like, this whole interaction with the Good Witch of the North, not Glinda, but she's the Witch of the South in this one, and I think she's the Witch of the South in the original book and stuff. But yeah, she talks to the Witch of the North, and, there's kind of a flat, awkward conversation about, like, good and evil, and, let's see. Yeah, honestly, the whole time I'm watching that, I'm like, oh man, I don't trust this witch. I know, this is back when we generally take characters at face value, and maybe it's my modern animation viewer brain talking, but yeah, it does, the way they portray everything so black and white in that scene, it's enough to, like, give me an almost alternative viewpoint. And then, like, near the end, when they're all talking about, like, the forms of the wizard that they saw, like, they have to keep repeating. Yeah, I don't know, there's some really awkward moments in here, but I don't know. There wasn't anything, like, terrible about it. It was pretty inoffensive, and yeah, I mean, it's okay. It was, I mean, for aspects that stood out. Aside from being faithful to the original book, let's see. I mean, I like the character designs. I like how they, you know, I'm looking at a picture of the main characters right now, and, I like how they gave the Scarecrow, like, these little dot eyes, this big red nose. I like how the Tin Man has, like, this curved nose and this metal beard-looking thing. The lion, he looks pretty true to how he was originally designed, and, he even has, like, this little curl at the top of his mane. And, Dorothy's blonde. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if she was blonde in the original book, but, I mean, either way, I don't think there's any, like, rule on what color her hair is supposed to be, although maybe it is stated in the book, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I like the designs. Oh, and the witch, I like how, they gave her a very crooked face and snaggle teeth and an eye patch. I mean, yeah, it's a nice touch. And then, there's not much else to say about, like, again, the characters are written in a way that, it establishes that they clearly have the things they want already. Well, except Dorothy's not in Kansas, But anyway, but yeah, I watched the English dub, and there's a few names in here. I see Elizabeth Hannah, John Stalker. I guess they're just voice actors, but, I see an actor named Billy Van as the Scarecrow, and the Wizard was voiced by an actor named Lorne Green. I can't say I know anything about any of those folks, but yeah, one name I do recognize in here is the voice of Dorothy, Eileen Quinn, who you might know as the 1982 movie version of Annie. So that was like the same year as this one, and, well, yeah. I mean, they probably cast her for this movie, based on her success in that one. And yeah, I think she did a really good job. Actually, the voice actors in general did a good job. Well, yeah, I mean, some of them sounded a little overly goofy. Like, I guess at times the lion's voice, he has like an over-the-top growl, and, I guess some of them are pretty cartoony, but yeah, no, it's a cartoon. So, but yeah, most notably, we have Eileen Quinn, and, I think, I think she's one of those legitimately talented child actors, like, yeah. Yeah, she puts in a very, genuine, heartfelt performance as Dorothy, and then, well, it's also got a few musical numbers that she sings, because you can't have Eileen Quinn if she's not singing, right? And yeah, they're very catchy little songs, and she does a good job singing them, etc. Yeah, I think if there's one thing that mainly stood out to me, it's her performance in this. So, yeah, it was something to appreciate, and but yeah, otherwise I found this one pretty unremarkable. Apparently there are a lot of people who grew up with this movie, and if you grew up with it and have a nostalgic attachment to it, that's all well and good. Again, I can't even say I dislike the movie. It was just pretty middle of the road, middle of the yellow brick road for me. Yeah, it was it was just okay for me. Very okay. But yeah, you might think differently if you're a Wizard of Oz fan, a fan of like retro anime, and you don't mind something as simple as this movie. You know, if you want a, if you want something that's not too challenging, that but is also faithful to the original book and stuff, you know, feel free to check it out and all that. But if you want something that's like new and interesting, yeah, this isn't really the best adaptation of Wizard of Oz to watch. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie a 5 out of 10. And, yeah, as usual, if there's anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that for now. Mash it and smash it, signing off.